Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's author webinar. Thank you for joining us. I'm Anita, and I'm part of the Learning and Content Management team. Joining me from the Learning and Content Management team are my colleagues Jennifer and Sridevi. We also have a few of our support team colleagues joining us today, Sandhya and Deepak. So before we begin, a few housekeeping items. Firstly, please take a few moments to complete the poll you will see now on your screen. If you have a question at any time during the content of the session, please use the Q&A option to send your questions directly to us. And we'll try to answer as many as possible today during the session in the Q&A channel. And if we cannot answer all the questions, we'll reply to you directly after the session, unless you post your question anonymously. We'll also cover some of the questions, the frequently raised questions at the end of the session today. And for the best view, you may wish to drag the central bar on your screen to the right to enlarge the screen that you're sharing. And you may also wish to enable the live transcripts via the bar on the bottom of your screen. Finally, our session today is recorded and you will be sent a link when the recording is ready. So now let's take a look at our agenda for today. So we will start by giving you an overview of the author submission process in Editorial Manager. Please note that the steps may vary depending on the journal configuration and the type of article being submitted. And we will also have a look at how the declaration tool is used when submitting a manuscript in Editorial Manager. So Elsevier's declaration tool quickly and easily helps authors create a comprehensive statement which incorporates the ICMJE, International Committee of Medical Journal Editors Declaration Standards. So this declaration tool will produce a statement in a Word form that can be uploaded alongside your manuscript and will appear in your published article. We'll provide you a brief explanation of the various editorial statuses your submission may progress through in Editorial Manager. And then we'll finally provide you some information on the co-authorship verification. So now let's get into the Editorial Manager test site and explore the submission process together. So please note, I'm going to be using a training site for the demonstration purpose with just dummy users and dummy submissions. So the training site is a good replica of the live environment, but it will slightly be different to your own profile. So please do not worry if you don't see things today that you usually see in your screen when you log in into Editorial Manager. This might be primarily due to the fact, the rights and permissions granted for each of the role in Editorial Manager, and that might differ from journal to journal. So now let's get into the Editorial Manager test site. Jenny, I hope the screen is all clear now.
Yes.
Jenny?
Yes.
Okay,
all
great.
good. Yeah.
The font size is perfect?
Yeah, pretty good.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So if you're a new user, click on the Register Now button to register yourself with the journal. And if you're already a registered user and if you'd like to retrieve your username, you can click on Send Login Details. And if the system finds a matching email address, you will receive an email containing your username and a link to reset your password. And once you're in the main menu, let's get into the main menu. Okay, so once you're in the main menu, please update the Update My Information tab by clicking on here, your name, and there is an Update My Information tab here. So you can go and update your profile details anytime from this Update My Information tab. And if there is any change in institution, it is really not required for you to create a new Editorial Manager account every time. So rather just click on the Update My Information tab and update your affiliation details, email ID, etc., which will avoid having multiple accounts, duplicate accounts for a single journal, which might be a hindrance for you in future. So before submitting a manuscript, please always check the journal requirements via the instruction to author link. And you can click here and see the detailed instruction. These instructions will contain guidelines on manuscript word counts, file requirements, and other important information for your submission. And so it is really important for you to familiarize yourself with the journal. So once you're ready, you can click on Submit New Manuscript. So you might see the screen which will have some incomplete submissions which has been initiated by you. So if you have started and just left off halfway, you can select and continue. If not, you can click on No Start New Manuscript. So I have already prepared a test submission for the purpose of this webinar. So I'm just going to click on Select and Continue with this incomplete submission. So please select the relevant article type from the drop-down menu. And if you are submitting for a special issue, please ensure you select the appropriate special issue article type. So the journal may also request you to link your ORCID ID. So in that case, please proceed to link your ORCID ID, which will actually enable you to use your ORCID ID to log in into Editorial Manager every time, rather than using your username and password for the Editorial Manager. And once you're ready, you've selected your article type, click on Proceed. So please attach all the files you wish to include within your submission in this Attach File step. We are here. You can use the Browse option to access your computer's file list, or drag and drop a file from your computer to attach the primary file for the submission. Firstly, upload your primary manuscript file. So mandatory file types, if you see here, are indicated with an asterisk. And if you select research data, when available for your journal, you'll be asked to enter the URL where your data is hosted and provide some additional information like the name and the title of the dataset. In the future, it will also become possible to upload data directly into Mendeley data. And for some journals, cover letter might be mandatory. So a cover letter is a simple, brief business letter designed to introduce your manuscript to a prospective editor. If the guide for authors does not specify what to include in your cover letter, you may wish to include some of the following items, which I'm going to mention now. Specify special considerations that should be given to the paper, if any. A little brief background regarding the research involved or how the data was collected, details of any previous or concurrent submissions. And it's also really helpful or useful to provide the editor-in-chief with any information that will support your submission. For example, original or confirmatory data, relevance, or topicality. So please ensure you always select the appropriate file type from this drop-down here. You may edit the description of the item, but please ensure not to use any personal identifiers for better use. The system will automatically order your files into the order designated by the journal. Or if you would like to update the file order, you can always click on the Update File Order button. And for some journals, the declaration of interest might be a mandatory file type. So we will explain this in more detail in a few minutes in this webinar. But in either event, such as a statement is mandatory from an ethics perspective, it is definitely required for you to fill that. And we also have a short video on how to use the declaration tool in Editorial Manager. And that will be posted in the chat link when we go through the declaration tool in detail. And once all your files are uploaded and the mandatory files are uploaded, please click on the Proceed button. So we also have an author submission process video created from the LCM team that will give you detailed instructions on how to submit your manuscript. So that's going to be now posted in the chat section. So please bookmark it to your personal laptop or your computer. So we are now in the General Information tab. So the General Information step will have differing requirements depending on your journal. You may be asked to select the region of origin, section category, and classifications for related to your submission. So classifications are fixed terms created for the journal, and these are different from keywords. Keywords are usually free text that users can add in the manuscript data step, which we'll see that later. And once you've provided all the required information in this step, please click on the proceed button. Okay, now we are here in the reviewer preferences tab. Based on the journal's requirements, you will see different options on this particular reviewer preferences tab. You may have the option to request an editor. So you can choose one from the drop down who will handle your paper. You can also suggest potential reviewers for your submission, or or to oppose reviewers who you would prefer not to review for your submission. And please note, these are just preferences. The editor may or may not use your suggestions. Once you've provided all the necessary information, click on the proceed button. So the additional information step presents you with a questionnaire which the journal uses to collect useful information about your manuscript. Please respond to each of these as appropriate. And when you've answered all the questions, click on proceed. And now the comments section gives you an opportunity to enter any comments for the journal offers. And these comments will not appear directly in your submission. So you can provide any additional comments you would like to provide for the editor-in-chief. And you can provide that here. And once you're done, click on proceed button. So now the system may automatically pull some data from the manuscript file attached to pre-populate fields on this manuscript data step. So required fields are marked with a red asterisk. So you must check and verify data or enter data manually. Please enter all the all the authors of the submission here by clicking on this author and enter their name, current email address, and institution. And it is always essential. Let me just click on it and show you. Okay, so it's always essential to choose your institution from the drop-down menu, as you might be eligible for institutional and society discounts that can reduce your article publishing charges for gold open access. So if you can refer the Pendo icon here, the eye icon here, which actually gives you some information on this content. And once you're done with updating all the information, you will also be required to enter the contributor roles if applicable. So select everything and then click on the save button here. And you may reorder the author list by dragging and dropping the authors accordingly to correct position in the list. And when all the author details are entered, you can just proceed to the next information, which is the funding information. So please add all the funding information for your research. So you can click on add a funding source. Give the, you can find the funding funder by just typing in first few letters, and the system will automatically show you a drop down where you can select all the funder. And you can provide the award number and also provide the grant recipient if required. So I have already filled the required details here. And if you do not have any funding information, you can always click on funding information is not available and then proceed with the next step. So once you're done with all these steps, you can click on build PDF for approval. And some journals encourage authors to view and select appropriate open access publishing options at submission. So please choose the appropriate publishing options, which is available for you when you have that step in the submission process. And then you can proceed with the submission process. So now the PDF of the submission is being built here. So you can see that. You must view the PDF to confirm that your files and information are right. So you have to, so here. So you have to click on view submission. So that will open up the PDF of your paper below. Just a second, the system is loading. Yeah, here it is. So you can open up the PDF and confirm all the information is right. And once, if there is any changes required, you can actually click on edit your submission to make changes to your submission. And please ensure you also read the ethics in publishing and Elsevier's terms and conditions, and then click on I accept button to indicate you adhere to these guidelines. And finally, okay, the page is refreshing now and then. I'm so sorry. So finally, once you're done with everything, just click on approve submission. So again, the system might ask you to update your ORCID ID. So if you'd like to do that, you can click on update my information or just proceed without the ORCID ID. And the system will again ask you for a confirmation. So are you sure you want to approve the submission? So if it is yes, then just click on OK button. So now if you see your submission is successfully submitted to the journal for consideration, and you will receive an email confirmation. And in case if you'd like to edit your submission file, you will have to contact the support center who will be able to update your submission file. And if you want more information on the submission process, please watch once again our author submission process video. So the link of which would have already been posted in the chat section. Please just bookmark it so you can watch the video anytime. And after submitting your manuscript, if you need any assistance, as I said, like if you like to edit your submission, you can click on this question mark button. And here, if you could see, there is a chat option available with Elsevier support. And this is available all 24/7 a day. So always contact the support. So who will help you with any of your author queries instantly. So that's it with the author submission process. Now we are in the part of today's webinar. We're now going to return to the submission process and look at the declaration tool in more detail. And as I mentioned before, let me just go back to the main menu. For some journals, declaration tool might be a mandatory file type. So transparent disclosure of potential competing interest is essential to meeting your ethical obligations and nurturing trust in science. So Elsevier now offers a declaration tool in Editorial Manager that will easily help authors to create a comprehensive statement which incorporates the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, ICMJE declaration standards. So this statement can be uploaded as a Word document alongside your manuscript and will appear in your published article. So now we are again in the submission page. I'm just going to quickly show you on from where you can access the declaration tool. So the declaration tool can be accessed through Journal's Guide for Authors link by clicking on this link, or from the attached files tab. We are now here. So here is the declaration statement, declaration of interest form link. So you can click on this and you will be now taken to the declaration tool homepage. So here you can read further information about declaring your interest, and you can see all information, whatever is available here. And once you're ready, yes, you can just proceed to start by clicking on Start My Declaration button. So now we are here in the first page, research support for reported work. So you can declare any support you or any of your co-authors received from certain types of third parties since the initial conception of this research. Note that you don't need to list academic institutions or public funding resources from charitable foundations or government agencies here. So you may fill in the details of the support by typing in the organization name here, which will automatically show you drop down, and you can select the relevant organization name and also select any relevant financial or non-financial support. And if you need to add another funding source, you can always click on this add another funding source, which is available at the end of the page. And you can click on you can add in any details here. Sorry. And if your research did not receive any additional support, that should be declared, you may use this toggle button off and just proceed with the next button, which is other support. So now we're here in the other support page. So relevant support outside this reported work page. So here you should disclose if you or any of your co-authors have any financial interest or personal relationship related to the subject matter, but not directly to the manuscript, as you could see here. So the time frame for other support is within the last 3 years. Again, so fill in all the relevant fields that's required here, or just toggle off this button if you have nothing to disclose. And if you like to save the declaration for later and come back to it within the next 30 days to continue, you can use this button. So once you're done with this page, click on the next button, which is the intellectual property button. So the patents and the intellectual property page allows you to disclose any relevant patents available or copyrights licensed to you, as you could see here, or any of your co-authors. So once you've filled in this or press the toggle button off, you can just move into the next page, which is next other activities. So other activities is a final page of the declaration tool where you can submit any further information that a reader could perceive to have influenced the work that has not been covered in any of the previous pages. So once you've either filled this or press the toggle button off to indicate you have nothing to declare, you can click on Review Declaration button. So this screen now summarizes all the information you have provided in the previous pages. You may click on the back button if there is anything you want to edit, or just click on Submit and Download if you're happy with the content. So, yeah. So now in this page, you will be offered the option to enter your email address to save your declaration statement, uh, which you can actually access anytime in the next 30 days. So if you do this, you'll be prompted to enter the one-time passcode, and then you can download your declaration. You can also go back to this tool and download the declaration again for the next 30 days if you use this option. Alternatively, you can just click on No Thanks, I want to download a declaration without saving it. So the declaration tool is now created a document using all the information you just entered, which can now be uploaded to Editorial Manager as a Word document. So now I'm just moving back to the Editorial Manager screen here, and we are now in the Attach File step. So you can just click on Browse button. Just browse the declaration document, which we just uploaded. So now it's been uploaded. So choose the correct item type from this drop down and also provide the description accordingly. And then you can proceed with the existing process. I mean, you can just proceed to continue with the submission, and then you can finish the submission. And now I'm just going back to the declaration tool to just give you some additional information. So if you saved your declaration, as I mentioned in the previous step, you can also access it from the home screen of the declaration tool for up to 30 days by clicking on this Access with One-Time Password here below this Need an Existing Declaration button. And if you want more information about this step, please watch our video using the declaration tool in Editorial Manager, and the link of which will now be posted in the chat section. So please bookmark it for your reference. And this is how you will use the declaration tool in Editorial Manager. Now, in the last part of today's webinar, we're going to give you a brief explanation of the various editorial statuses your submission may progress through in Editorial Manager. So I'm now going to go back to the presentation. Jenny, I hope the screen is all clear.
No, Anita.
Okay. Is it all fine now, Jenny?
Yeah, now it's good to go. Yes.
Thank you very much, Jenny. So Yes, we are now here in the track your submission process. So an author finishes writing his paper and submits it to the journal. So the system shows the status of the manuscript as manuscript submitted. And based on the workflow of the journal, the editorial office or the editor performs a technical check on your manuscript, and they will check the manuscript word count, format, and figure, quality, etc. The next step is assigning it either to the editor in chief or an associate editor for further handling. Journals usually have multiple associate editors who are experts in a particular niche within the broader subject area. Your manuscript will be handled by the editor who has the highest level of understanding and experience with your paper's research topic. So the status remains with editor until the editor either makes a decision or invites reviewers. So the handling editor has different action choices to make now. So he or she can make a desk rejection as seen here, or send the paper for revision, or alternatively invite reviewers. So the editor conducts an initial screening of your paper and assess it against several criteria such as novelty, priority, and scope. And if your paper is a better match for another journal, you may be offered a manuscript transfer. Also, it's possible that your paper does not meet some of the assessment criteria, and then the editor will reject it before going into peer review. And if the editor decides that your paper is a good match for their journal, they will identify 2 or 3 independent reviewers, depending on your journal configuration, and then send them an invitation to review your manuscript. So when the editor invites reviewers, the status of the manuscript changes to under review. Once the required number of reviews are received and recommendations were submitted, the status of the manuscript shows as required reviews completed. So the handling editor is now carefully studied the review reports. It can happen that the referee reports are conflicting, in which case the editor needs to find some additional reviewers. And when this happens, your submission returns to under review status again. When the editor has received enough high quality feedback from the reviewers, they will begin the decision making process and move the status to decision in process. So the decision may need to be confirmed by multiple editors in some journals. So the manuscript then moves to the editor in chief's account. So the editor in chief now submits his or her decision. So there might be different options for the editor to make now. The first one, as you could see, revise. So the editor is requested that you revise the submission. You will find the details of the changes required and the deadline for your submission, for your revision in the decision letter. Accept or reject. So the submission process is completed with either an accept or reject decision. In case of an accept decision, the manuscript will begin its production process and you will receive further information. The next one is transfer pending. So the editor has rejected your paper now and suggested to transfer it. So the editor has recommended the submission be transferred to another journal via our automatic article transfer service, and you're offered a transfer. And we will await your response before proceeding further. Now you accepted the transfer and the submission is now transferred to another journal. So we've also published a video on submission status explainer, which will explain you how your submission progresses after submitting the manuscript, and the link of the video, which will now be posted in the chat section. So please make a bookmark of it, which will be definitely useful for you in future. So the next thing is we have now introduced a submission tracker tool for more than 2000 plus Elsevier journals. So once a journal is using the submission tracker, an email is sent to the corresponding author when the first reviewer is invited. As you can see from the screenshot, the email contains a link to the submission tracker landing page where the author can view the status of the review process of their submission. Note that the same link will remain active throughout the end-to-end peer review process, which is definitely interesting. And we expect to have the submission tracker to available to all Elsevier journals in the near future. So the submission tracker landing page for a submission looks as shown here. From here, you can monitor the complete status of your manuscript. So at Elsevier, we want to help all our authors to stay safe when publishing. So we are aware that there are a number of scams in operation which seek to fraudulently obtain money from authors. Typically, these schemes take the form of emails purporting to be from a journal's editorial office asking the authors to pay a fee. Often, this request is made at the same time as announcing that the paper has been accepted for a publication, even though in reality, if you see, it is still in the editorial review workflow. So, these are some of the tips on how you can avoid being scammed and stay safe while publishing. Watch out for the following features which may prompt you that the communication in question is fraudulent. So these are few of the tips. So I can just leave the screen as such for you to just make a note down these points importantly. So just to highlight on few of these things, important points, all legitimate emails from Elsevier requesting payment will come from an elsevier.com email address. So therefore, please delete anything that claims to come from Elsevier but does not come from such an address. And if you were not expecting a communication or you already know that the paper is at different stage of the publication process, be wary of emails suggesting otherwise. You can always verify the progress of your paper in the online submission system, which I just showed in the previous slide through the submission tracker. And if the email contains misspellings, casual or unprofessional language, and or is in a different style from the other emails from Elsevier, and then these are definitely danger signs. And the important point to notice here is request for payment, especially if you have not been chosen to publish in Gold Open Access Journal. You should be wary of any communication requesting that you transfer money to enable publication. And in case of the Gold Open journals, Elsevier will only ask you for payment after you have accepted for, I mean, your paper has been accepted for publication. So always just make a note down of all these important points so that you can actually save yourself from any fraudulent actions. So when submitting, the next thing we're going to see is about the co-authorship verification. So when submitting, authors are asked to list all the co-authors of the submission. So editorial manager requests all the co-authors to confirm their co-authorship, and this helps to ensure that authorship includes all individuals who have made a significant contribution to the conception, design, execution, or interpretation of the manuscript. So how do I verify my contribution as a co-author? So request to verify may be for a new submission or a revised submission. So the journal will send co-authors an email notification, which includes deep links to verify the co-authorship, as you could see from here. So some journals will ask that you also register a login to confirm your co-authorship, which will also allow you to view the status of your submission. Some journals will ask that you also register or log in to verify your co-authorship, which will also allow you to view the status of the submission on your author main menu from the folder submission being processed, as you could see from here. So you may also receive up to 2 reminders to verify your co-authorship. We also created a FAQ video on co-authorship verification, and that's hosted on YouTube. And the link of it is now going to be posted in the chat section by our co-host Jennifer. So please bookmark it for your reference, which will be really helpful for you. So the next thing we're going to see here is the author guide, which will actually explain in detail now. So the author guide, in this guide, you will find some learning pathway that includes links to instructional videos and articles. So I'm just going to quickly share that page with you now. Jenny, I hope you're all able to see the author guide page now here.
Yes, Anita.
Yeah,
clear.
Great. So this cohesive and enlightening learning pathway will guide you through author key tasks such as manuscript submission process, tracking manuscript status, and so on. So if you could see here, there are different stages. which are available. So pre-submission, what is required before you submit a manuscript? How would you find matching journals for your paper? And what are all the open access options available? And how do you prepare your manuscript? So all of these options will have few articles as well as videos which you can watch at your ease. So when you click on the submission, you have login details. How do you link your profile to ORCID? How do I get started with a new submission? So when you click on this plus button, you will be able to find articles as well as videos. So we have pre-submission, submission, and then the review and decision process. So you can just see that to how you can track the manuscript and the revision process, and also some of the additional resources here, the webinar series page, and what are all the author services available. Thank you very much. So that's all about the author guide. So please bookmark this link also, and the co-host Jenny will now be posting this link in the chat section for you all. So I'm just going back to the presentation now. So that brings us to the end of our webinar today. So thank you for listening to us. And after this session, we'll be sending you an email. I mean, that will take some time. Will contain some helpful links to the webinar recording and some short video guides that relate directly to the topic today. So please look out for that email. And again, a gentle reminder, please take a few moments to complete the short poll that you see on your screen now before you could leave. And your answers will really help us to deliver more webinars like this one in future. So thank you again for joining us. See you next time.